Hello and welcome to another episode of Don't Feed the Geeks, presented by the Long Island Comic Guys. Got Toy Story Matt here, and I'm here with TC, JJ, and the Dungeon Master Bruce. And today we are joined by Frank Rich. Hello, Frank.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on.
How's it going?
Today's a very special episode. We're doing a Star Wars-centric episode in time for May the 4th. Frank is a Star Wars autograph news personality. You do not just a podcast, but you also do a blog on that, correct, Frank?
Yeah, it's Star Wars Autograph News, website and podcast, social media, just trying to help people to find autographs to add to their collections from either in person or reputable sources for Star Wars fans who like to collect autographs.
That's awesome.
Nice.
So I guess where we want to get started is how you got into Star Wars. You know, your kind of origin with the movies, or whatever it was that got you into it. Maybe you read the comic books. I don't know. I'm sure it was the movies, but let's hear about your first experience with Star Wars.
Sure. Yeah, I saw the first movie in 1977 when it came out. I was 5 years old when I saw it and fell in love with it. It's been a part of my life ever since, a big part of my life ever since. I had, the movies as they came out, I had all the Kenner figures and toys, and that was a big part of growing up, and loved having loved playing with those toys when I was a kid, and I still have a lot of them. My mother knew how important they were to me, and kept them.
That's rare.
It's a good mom.
Yeah. A lot of people. It's just so amazing that she just knew enough even back then to hang on to them. She thought maybe one day I'd want to give them to my kids because they were so important to me. So she's the best.
That's very cool.
That's awesome.
So did you identify with one of those guys more? Were you like a Han guy, or were you a Luke guy growing up?
Growing up, I was a Luke guy.
Yeah.
Just definitely Luke. And over time, it wasn't until the prequels came out that he was still up there as my favorites. But after the prequels, and up till now, my favorite's Obi-Wan. Mm-hmm. And every incarnation of Obi-Wan, whether it was Alec Guinness or Ewan McGregor and the animated series, or just that character it's so, I don't know. I related more to him as I got older.
Wow, very cool. I was getting a little nervous when you started talking about the prequels. I was hoping you weren't going to say it was Anakin Skywalker that you related. So we can continue this conversation.
Should we make a disclaimer that Tess is not a Hayden Christensen fan?
Yeah. He does not like Hayden Christensen.
I don't care for his work. All right, so I guess let's get more into like what you do, like, how you interact with people, doing the Star Wars autograph news.
Also, how you got into this specific part of this world.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Good idea, Matt. Good question.
I started to collect autographs, Star Wars autographs, in about 2005 when I started. I had a couple from the Bruins. I had Bobby Ewar's autograph. I met him, and that hangs on my office wall. But when I was growing up, I also collected. I was really big into hockey. I collected hockey cards. I loved that collecting piece of it. Even though it wasn't autographs, I enjoy collecting. I don't know what it was. I think I came across. I think it was Dave Prowse website and Jerry Bullock's website, and you could get their autographs right from their website. I thought it was really cool. And from getting those first few, I started to learn more about it and saw that right outside of Boston, we had every year Star Wars guests come onto this event. It was called Super Mega Fest. It still is. And I was amazed. I was like, man, I live right here, right outside of Boston. And I had a lifelong Star Wars fan, had actors a half an hour from my house. I had no idea.
Wow.
And it was amazing to me. So I did from 2005 until 2011. I went to that local show, maybe a couple others here and there. I did Celebration 5 in Orlando. It was in 2011. I had just gone to my local show. It's always the week before. It had always been the week before Thanksgiving. And I had my stack autographs I just picked up that weekend, and And I'm looking at them. I said, I'm going to start a website. No clue how to start a website. I had to Google how to start a website. And it was going to be how to, to help other people find autographs. There was one resource out there that's still one of the best resources for Star Wars autograph collectors, which is Star Wars Actor Appearances. And you guys, I'm sure, know Eric LeBlanc, who still runs that site. He was doing it. And I wanted to kind of supplement that type of thing. So getting more information, news stories, exploring different parts of the hobby. And I had initially called the site, social media, Star Wars Autograph Collection. That was my first name for it. And it never really felt right to me. It wasn't until a few years later that I was at New York Comic Con, and it just hit me. I was like, it's never been about my collection. It's about helping other people find autographs. Whether they're actors, behind the scenes, animation, comics, authors, artists, it didn't matter. It was about sharing that news. Mm-hmm. And it just hit me. It was like, that's who you are. It's Star Wars Autograph News. I changed the name. And since then, everything just felt right after that.
What was your first Star Wars autograph? Do you remember what that was?
My first in person was Billy D. Williams in 2006 at Super Mega Fest. Wow. I think my first the three I got from those websites were Peter Mayhew, Dave Prowse, and Jeremy Bullock. I don't remember which one was first.
Okay.
But the first in person was Billy D. Williams. It was awesome.
That's great.
Very cool.
So, Frank, are you more of a photo guy, or do you like to get like collectible items signed?
I do. So my collection is mostly 8x10s and comic books.
Okay.
I don't do pops or figures. And mostly just space. I don't.
Yeah, understandable.
Comics are a lot easier to store.
When I had those first few autographs, I got the Peter Mayhew framed. I was like, I'm going to get all my autographs framed. And then you have 700 autographs later. Like, I need 2 houses for this. But that was the goal initially. It's just not the space. I try not to do posters because I hate posters. I love the way they look. It's like they say, don't buy a boat, have a friend that has a boat because of all the expenses. That's how I feel about posters. I just hate lugging them around and they get banged up, but I love to see other people's beautiful the work that goes into getting those. I just don't like doing it myself. I don't like carrying them to shows.
It's a project. I mean, mine's been 12 years in the making. I mean, it's a big project carrying this damn poster around every single show.
Yeah. That's why I'll live vicariously through you guys. Guys to it because they look gorgeous, and I love seeing when somebody has been working on a post like you said for 12 years, and then 12 years down the line where they're still adding when they get those the names become fewer and fewer, so they become more important.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love seeing somebody that's been working on a poster that long, and they're like, "Oh, I just got this guy I've wanted for so long." And I love those moments. And that's one of the nice things about having Star Wars Autograph News. I can share those moments, and people and experience that joy that they have of adding names. And I just have this thing. It's like with Star Wars Autograph News, our social media, when one person gets an autograph, we all get an autograph because we all share. There's no competition. We're there. It's a supportive community, and when you get an autograph on your poster, we're happy for you. And
that's a great way to look at it.
That's I couldn't be happy with the way things go in that regard. I have a great bunch of people that follow us, very positive, supportive community, and that's not always the case everywhere you go. So it's I'm so happy to have that.
Do you have a count of how many autographs you have for Star Wars?
On my old website, I knew because I would put them all up on the site, and it kept count. Like I could see on the last one I would put up, it would say 480. But with the new site, I don't have them all up on the site. So I stopped. I stopped counting a couple years ago, and it was like 600.
Wow.
Is there anybody that you're still looking for?
I would love to get Peter Cushing. I can have him. And now it's more images. It's not so much names. As a few years ago, I kind of answered a question like this, and I said, I'm never going to get Alec Guinness, and I'm okay with that. And then a week later, he comes up on eBay for like $80, and it was the real deal on an index card, and I got him. So
that's awesome.
As things come up, but sometimes now it's the right image or a book or comic that I want to, comics for me now. I didn't grow up reading comics. It's being around guys like you guys, Jim and friends that it became this. That's actually for the last 3 or 4 years. That's been mostly my passion, is getting comics signed, and who's going through. You know what it's like going through a guest list for Comic-Con and going through So I'll go through every artist, pop them into Wikipedia or just Google their Star Wars, and whatever they have, I'll go and I'll find it.
Wow, that's really cool.
That's funny.
Yeah, because you also get the book signed too, the novels and everything else. I've seen you do.
Yeah. I'll do the books. I do enjoy the Abrams art of Star Wars books. There's a lot of them, but I have 4 main ones that I'm working on. Out of illustration, comics, posters, and then there was one on the Topps Galaxy cards, and I have 2 of those. But I love them all. But the comics, Abrams Out of Comics, is probably my favorite because I've been able to add some amazing names, people that I know are big in the comic world. But for me, I'm only looking at it through the lens of Star Wars. So, like, you guys would. What's his name? He did Deadpool. Fabian Vincenza.
Yeah,
is that his name?
Yeah, he's the co-creator.
So I had no idea, but I saw he was going to be at New York Comic Con, so I put him in, and he came up with he did one story in Star Wars Tales. So here I am in his line with a Star Wars comics in just a sea of Deadpool fans. And when I got up to his table, he's like, I did Deadpool, right? But I've been able to get, Jim Starlin did some Star Wars. He did the Star Wars piece. And I'm looking forward to meeting George Perez next month, and he's in one of my Star Wars books. So I've been able to appreciate the artists for their body of work, even though the focus is Star Wars. It allows me to get these autographs from people that I admire or respect their greater body of work, but I'm getting them signed on something that is Star Wars related.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah,
it's a really cool way to go about this.
It's been probably the most fun I've had with collecting, because you still get that. It's just different when you go up to an artist and get a signature. It's different than when you go up to the table and you have that exchange of money. It's great to add those autographs to your collection, but there's something just really cool about going up to the artist. And that I enjoy, and the price is right too. I mean, it's usually free, or the first 2 are free, and then you pay a little bit after that. Yeah. So it's it's the hunt of the comic. I enjoy that, trying to hunt down the comic, and really got into the variants and all of that. Just the whole experience has been really just a great part of my collection, and probably one of my favorites.
So are you reading any of the comics now? Like, are you reading the new Marvel stuff? The Vaders and.
I started to.
Okay.
I'm not now, but when so initially it was like Star Wars, Vader, Leia. Yeah. And I don't know. There were like 4 of them.
I think it was Lando too.
Yeah,
Lando.
Han Solo did one. Lando
and Doctor.
Yeah. Now there's so many, and I had to stop. I'll still get the autographs, but because Disney when they first started, it was like, this is all canon. And I was like, I need to I need to read it, and I just couldn't keep up.
Yeah, the Star Wars title alone is very good. The Vader stuff, if you're going to read only one thing, the Darth Vader title is just amazing.
Any of the Vaders.
Yeah, all of it, yeah. We would definitely recommend that. Frank, if you're looking for something else to spend your money on, though, I think out of the group here, I've really dove into the art world. Starting to get some of these originals from these guys. You might want to look into getting some of those Star Wars pages or original commissions from them.
Don't make them spend any more money.
I've been with Jim when he's showing me some of those original pieces, and wow, it's amazing. But that might be one of those things I have to live through other people because
it's a whole world in and of itself.
That's a wise decision.
I own page 7 of Princess Leia issue 4 from Terry Dawson. I mean, I have that
That's
page.
pretty cool.
I got to steal. Are you familiar with J. Scott Campbell? I'm sure you are. Right?
Oh yep.
I got a steal on like a what was it, a First Order Trooper he did?
It was a First Order Trooper.
And they had it marked in like and he did in watercolors. The only thing I've ever seen in like the portfolios at a con that he did in watercolors. And I was like, what's the price on this? And the girl told me the price. And I was like, okay.
I'm going to buy it.
And like they went to the other guys like, oh, they told you the price. And then like I went to go take a picture with J. Scott Campbell. Like, oh, you're the guy. I think like pretty sure that girl got in trouble for the price you gave me on that. But it's cool. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Some of that original art looks good.
So Frank, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I get those. I get all the blank. The comics that just have the blank.
Yep.
They have the title, but it's just a blank white cover. I get those, and someday I'll do something with them.
Absolutely.
But I don't know about yet, but there's just so many. As I saw them, I was like, this is amazing. I was like, I can't wait to someday do something with these. I just have no idea yet.
Well, your best bet would really be to go to like kind of like an up and coming guy. Like if you look at like someone's work and something like that, like it might only be like, $50 to, $80 sometimes, depending on the show, like at most $100. And you can get like a pretty amazing piece before some of these guys really blow up in the industry.
Like if you go through their Instagram or something, you see, oh, this guy did a sick, Stormtrooper or Boba Fett. You could just get them to do it for super cheap.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great idea. Thank you. I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
That's, just save them all and knowing someday, but I think that's a great idea. I'll have to check that out.
So Frank, I actually have a question. So you mentioned before that you got an Alec Guinness signature, right?
Yes.
So I imagine like there's two sides to this whole autograph thing. There's the people who are still alive and still signing, but then there's also tracking down, people who aren't with us anymore. So
right.
I was wondering, like, how do you go about doing that and authenticating that stuff, especially if you're like buying online?
It's dependent on the community and trusted people in the community to do it. Anything that I see, whether it's already authenticated or not, I have people that I would send that I trust and say, "You mind taking a look at this?" And
so you basically get like a consensus.
Yeah. Right now, it's pretty much down to like actually one person that had just said, Graham Miles, who's on my podcast, has been with me from the beginning. I'll typically send him anything that I'm not sure of, and for things like that, names like that, Alec Guinness, I'm still going to send it to him. It's just that comfort of if he thinks it's real. I feel, for me personally, I'm very comfortable with it being real, and I didn't think twice once he said that looks like the real deal to get it.
Cool.
But that's what I do. I mean, there's plenty. You have to, get involved in these communities and don't ever take what do they call it? The letters, certificate of authenticity as anything. Oh, it has that must be real.
Right.
It doesn't mean anything. Right? You guys.
Those can be faked easier than a signature.
It's just a piece of paper.
Just a piece of paper. Anthony Daniels just had a great quote about it at Celebration a couple weeks ago. He said, it's as garbage as the autograph that goes with it. I was like, yeah, it was perfect. And, if it looks too good to be true, it is.
Right.
And there's a reason that saying exists, and it's so true for autographs. You see, a lot of people go to eBay, but there's a lot of groups on Facebook or like that just sell Star Wars autographs, and that are pretty good at weeding out what's they're not going to put up something that they know is not the real deal. I don't recommend that's something to work towards. I don't recommend like a brand new person to the community, a brand new person to collecting autographs. I don't think that's something you just jump into, but you get there once you get your feet wet and you start to meet people and kind of understand how things work.
Right.
So you started to mention Celebration there, and you attended this recent one, correct?
Yes, I did.
All right, awesome. So I guess our first talking point in relation to Celebration was the episode 9 trailer was released.
Yes.
Let's hear your thoughts and then kind of like the reaction that you saw at Celebration to it as well.
Also, give your thoughts on the current trilogy as a whole first, so we can kind of gauge where you are with that.
The feeling I ended up getting into one of the they have the Celebration stage, which is like the auditorium where everybody's live and physically there, and then they have a few other stages that are showing a live stream to that stage. So I was in the Galaxies stage watching, and it was having JJ and Kathleen and the panel up there, it was almost like, as it got, I looked at my the clock, I'm like, we're almost over. We don't have the name of the movie. We don't have a trailer yet. We have a trailer coming. So it was just all of a sudden, it was just like, boom. It was just electric. And, that just feeling of we're going to, here's the name, here's the title, here's the trailer. And when she jumps over that TIE fighter, the place just exploded. The other part, as you can imagine, Billy D. Williams, when they show him, and then the next shot is him laughing behind the cockpit of the Falcon, and that got the biggest reaction. It felt it posed more questions than answers. It felt hopeful. It felt like, man, I can't wait for December.
That's what a good trailer should do, though. It shouldn't give anything away. If anything, it should introduce more questions to you.
Exactly, and that's how it felt. Is there a bias when you're at Celebration and you're caught up with all those other fans? And yeah, there is. I mean, but I think even if I was watching at home, I still would have had that,
So yeah,
almost that same statement.
This is Jim. So I was watching in my office, and my door was open, and I had my headphones on, and all I kept saying was, "Oh my god, oh my god!" And I actually had the 2 girls in my HR department run in. They're like, "Are you all right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay. It's just I'm watching something," and it was just I was caught up in that moment. I can only imagine what it would felt like being there to witness that. Watching it felt like you were there anyway because it was such clarity.
Did everybody freak out when they heard the laugh too?
Oh yeah, that was. You see, Ian McDermott was there, and he came out at the end. That just, on one hand, it made so much sense, and on the other hand, it was like, what just happened? Because of course, it always could have been. There's always been these, everything happened according to its design, and always behind the scenes. So that was in itself was just awesome.
I would imagine it was confusing because I was confused when I first heard him and saw him. So I can only imagine maybe people were confused also. No?
Tess is shaking his head now.
It's funny when you said that. I was like, as soon as I heard it, I was like, "Oh man, it's the Emperor."
No. I didn't picture him being in it or had any part in it. I was like, "Huh? Why is he standing there?"
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think of there wasn't anyone else in the Star Wars world that I thought that could have had that laugh.
I knew it was him, but it didn't sink in that he would be in the movie until I saw him on stage.
Yeah,
I guess.
Well, I guess I wasn't watching. It was funny last night. We saw Avengers, but when they played the trailer in the movie last night, I went to another one of our friends. Like, oh, it's not him. It sounds just like Ming at the end of Flash Gordon.
Yeah,
so it could be Ming. It might not be the Emperor.
That's funny.
It was. I had a brief kind of, man, is this going to detract from the end of Return of the Jedi? But that didn't last very long. I was like, I can't wait to see what they do with this. And, like I said, you saw Avengers last night, and, this is going to do something similar and tie up
a very long movie saga.
They're not, they don't drop the ball on something like that. So I'm very much looking forward to it.
Awesome. So what are your thoughts on the last 2 movies, just generally?
There's a lot of great moments. I will say I don't have the I don't despise The Last Jedi like a lot of people do, but I did leave the theater the first time with a lot of this didn't was that a Star Wars movie I just saw? Did he just make a mother joke? And like there were a lot of things that happened that took me out and reminded me that I'm watching a Star Wars movie. I don't like that.
Yeah.
The only other 2 times that's happened for me is when Obi-Wan calls Darth Vader Darth, like it's his first name in Star Wars, and knowing that they wanted Wookiees in Return of the Jedi, and didn't have the time or the money, so they kind of cut the Wookiees in half and take word Wookiees to Ewok.
It's funny, we just brought that up like 5 minutes ago.
Did you?
Yeah.
Like those are the only times. So it was. I don't like to. Star Wars is best when you can
get lost in the world.
You get lost in it, right? And then my least favorite of all the films is. I'm sure you know before I even say it, Attack of the Clones.
Yep.
I think it's all of ours too.
And not so much for the story, but because there's moments that you can practically. There's one Jedi in that Battle of Geonosis that she does like a force push, and you can practically see she's standing in front of a green screen. There's like it just looks so fake. Like you can see the editing process. I don't want that. I don't. You don't want that in any movie, right? But this is Star Wars. It's supposed to be better than that.
Yeah.
So there were a few moments in The Last Jedi that I felt like that. However, Luke's arc, and there's a lot of arcs. You have Luke's arc, you have Poe's arc, and you have Finn's arc. But Luke, I thought Luke got the death that he deserved. I thought that character deserves to have a good death, and he deserves to be a Force ghost. He has to be a Force ghost, and because he's Rey's Obi-Wan. And this is all, it's all part of Star Wars. And I thought it was sad that Luke died for me, but, he's a Jedi. He's not gone. He's going to come back in a Force ghost.
Yeah.
But I thought that the way that just echoes Obi-Wan's sacrifice in A New Hope, just on a epic level, to the point that kids are playing, pretending that they're Luke at the end of it. For me, I took that. I loved it. Not immediately.
Yeah.
But I did, I just appreciate the character of Luke Skywalker and that he got a great death.
I agree with you there. I did like that whole his like leaving, the showdown with
Kylo.
Yeah, I've already forgot about him, Kylo Ren. But I feel like his other everything kind of preceding that just seemed very un-Luke Skywalker to me. In Return of Last Jedi. Sorry.
So they have two different things. You have Luke's arc from the farm boy in A New Hope, but then in that movie he has an entire arc just stands alone in that movie, which is kind of crazy that they can do both at the same time. He comes from a place that I think because he's starting in a place that we wouldn't ever expect Luke to see. That story starts in a very dark place, and he's hiding himself off. It's very different from the Luke that we left at the end of Return of the Jedi, who just saved his father and the entire universe, and now he's hiding on an island. And, I can definitely see how it didn't feel like Luke, but when I look at the transition and the steps that he made from the beginning of, the end of whatever The Force Awakens and to the end, I could appreciate that journey that he took.
Interesting.
Cool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, did you get a chance to see the promo stuff for Mandalorian as well?
I did. Yeah, I was in the celebration stage for that, so I got to see the actual. They showed a few things, a trailer, some behind the scenes footage, some different scenes, and man, this is going to be a good show.
Yeah. I'm actually super excited for that.
I think it was funny because after I saw that, as big as the getting the name of Episode 9 and the trailer, it was almost like at the end of Celebration, it was like, oh my God, I forgot about that. I would say overshadowed it, but it's new and exciting. It's not just new; it's the new direction of Star Wars. The episodic movies, the Skywalker saga is about to end, but with Disney Plus and live action and everything that's going to happen, there's a whole new world that we haven't even started yet.
Yeah,
getting that
seems
first
very
taste
exciting.
There's so many possibilities about what they could do.
There was did you get to see the panel?
I didn't see the panel. I saw a I don't know if you did. You guys see the panel?
I didn't see the panel. I caught experts.
Yeah, I caught the behind the scenes clips.
Okay. The lead, was it Pedro Pascal?
Yeah, the guy from Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is he on Game of Thrones? I remember him from. I like those. With Eggsy.
The Kingsman.
Kingsman.
Yeah,
so I liked it.
He was in the Kingsman.
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't like his character. He's the one with the lasso in the second.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, I haven't seen the second one.
Oh,
yet.
that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
He's
So I
Oberyn,
didn't
right?
like his
in Game of Thrones, so? Yeah.
I haven't watched Game of Thrones yet. I know it's a little late
It's all
in the
right.
game, but
I haven't seen it either.
he's talking about how he got approached for it, and afterwards it's okay. We have a part for you. He's what am I going to be? And they're like, you're the Mandalorian. And just the way he said it, and to say that, like, him finding out, it's like, you are the title character of the show. Show, like, you could see how, they're actors, right? So they have to act. But you could see that was a huge moment for him, and that was awesome.
That's cool. And then we got Carl Weathers that's in it too. So that's a big name.
I'm a huge Rocky fan, so I'll sign on for anything that he's going to show up in.
Yep. Yeah. And he does shows. He does conventions. Hopefully that he keeps doing it.
I caught up with him in Rhode Island. When him and Dolph Lundgren, you guys were there that year, right? When both him and Dolph Lundgren were at Rhode Island Comic Con. I think that was 2 years ago.
It's 2. I've been to all of them. So
Yeah.
Now I definitely have to. That one of the first things I saw when he was announced. Awesome, he does shows.
Yeah.
Another autograph.
Yeah. And then we also got Clone Wars Season 7 coming back.
Yes.
So you're into the animated stuff too, right?
I do. I loved the Clone Wars. I loved that there was new Star Wars every week.
Yeah.
Because that show was long. That went on for years.
For a long time.
And it was good too.
And it had
Very
movies
quality.
too. So it had a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And so I talked about how I don't like posters, but I do have 2. I call them my twins. At C6, they gave us these awesome Clone Wars posters in the press room, and they call it the Apocalypse Now poster. It's reminiscent of the Apocalypse Now theatrical poster. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how many signatures I have on it. There were probably already 30 plus signatures on it, but I didn't have Kat Taba, James Arnold Taylor, Matt Lanta. So some of these big people that were just at Celebration. So I brought them. I dusted, pulled them out of the closet and brought them to Celebration. Now I have everybody but Dave Filoni. He's the last one I need.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I did. And I go into Rebels. I thought Rebels ended up becoming. It was the first season was slow, but it has some of my favorite Star Wars moments that come from the animated shows, and even Resistance, which for me was even harder to get into than Rebels was initially, but I still had that hope because of how well, how Rebels turned up into a great show, that hope that this one would too, because there's moments in it that's very different. It's almost like Scooby-Doo, kind of like they're running and their feet are spinning, and it looks very, it's a little different than Clone Wars and Rebels. But it's gotten to a really good place. So I'm looking forward. I was at the Clone Wars panel at Celebration. I didn't do the Rebels or the Resistance, but I did do Clone Wars. That was one I had to go to. Yeah. And they gave us an amazing print from the trailer when Ahsoka's kind of jumping from an explosion. And I saw it on the trailer. It's like I was about to pull out my phone and text Mark Von Olin from Tops, like, I need this image. And then the next thing they show us is, and you're going to take this home with you. And it was that image.
That is so cool.
Amazing.
So one of the things I loved about Clone Wars is that, so as I'm sure you probably would agree with, in the prequels, I felt like a lot of times we got kind of, I don't know if cheated out of is the right word, but cheated out of seeing like Anakin get from point A to point B, because there's a lot of jumps in between, obviously, episodes 2 and 3. And I really like that Clone Wars filled in those gaps and kind of showed us more of Anakin's struggle with everything that was going on. So, I mean, do you agree with that?
I loved it. To me, it's more, if they keep the quality, more Star Wars is always better than not. less Star Wars. I want more. But I love to see, and that's part of, I think, why my my kind of favorite character went from Luke to Obi-Wan was not just the prequels, but Clone Wars too.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
See that relationship with Anakin and then what's not Sabine, but the
what's her name?
yeah,
Ahsoka?
No, the girl that he was with.
The girl, yeah. Oh, that's terrible. I can't think
His
of
love
it.
interest, right?
Autograph. Right. I have her autograph.
Yeah.
But it was it like you said, it adds so much more. It just it made the story richer, and you could see, Dave Filoni talks a lot about those days when he was, George Lucas was his mentor and walking him through, and how much George Lucas is in Clone Wars, because there's more Clone Wars than there are film.
Right.
There's how many hours of Clone Wars are there?
That's true.
George Lucas's handprint is on all of that. So there's great moments. And and I thought that Clone Wars helped to make Anakin's fall much more powerful. The movies can only do so much. It's 2.5 hours or whatever it is. Yeah. And it was good. I mean, I got Anakin's fall and the battle with Obi-Wan. But when you now have hour upon hour of those two interacting and all these good times and bad and struggles and achievements, that adds to, it just makes that moment that much more powerful. And of course, Ahsoka, which initially I was like, what are you talking? It was almost like, what do you mean he has a Padawan? Like this, it just felt so out of place. And now Ahsoka's become, as she's grown and been in all these different series, such an amazing character that grew out of animation. But initially I was very like, whoa, wait, no, this is borderline sacrilegious that you're going to.
How long did it take you to get to like accept that and to get into the idea?
Before the end of Clone Wars, probably two or three seasons, about 2-3 seasons.
Yeah. Cool.
I was definitely on board, but not after Snips. When she stopped the Snips days and she was a little bit older, I was definitely on board. I think it was the first time that changed her appearance and she looked older. I was definitely okay with it.
Yeah.
But before that, it's a lot of the Yoda moments, seeing the clones, especially Bad Batch, which 99, the one that the ones that aren't, they come out and there's problems with them. They're not the perfect soldier.
I love the humanity that the show brought to the clones.
Yes. Yeah.
Because we got none of that in the movies.
Yeah. A whole nother level. And again, that moment when execute Order 66 and everything switches, it just adds to, you see that relationship that they had with each other. Especially, I think, there's the one that, is it Cody, the one with the kind of gold? He's in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
He's in the cartoon, and you see how the relationship he had with the Jedi, and he's the ones, tells the tank to fire on Obi-Wan.
Yeah. And that's so much when you watch the Clone Wars and then go back and see that in Episode 3. It's so much more powerful, I feel like.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what I appreciate about it the most. And more than just enjoyable, good writing, good stories. The animation got better. I really enjoyed it. But what it does to the perspective of the prequel films, especially Revenge of the Sith, and it is amazing. And it's been great to see that we're now working on a generation of fans that's their introduction. And it's hard for me to think of people experiencing Star Wars as at a young age in their introduction of these animated series. What it must be like to then know, oh, do you like those? Well, there's the first one came out 40 years ago. There's a movie. So, for me, it was,
your dad was your age when you first saw this.
I always, this isn't, I didn't make this up, but in my mind, when I think of Star Wars fandom, it's a train. A train that started in 1977, and the first stop was Star Wars, and then they're adding more stops. Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and the train adding more cars and more people and updating the train. But what stop did you get onto the train? Mm-hmm. And it, for the longest time, it was just the 3 movies, and the prequels, and I remember I saw, they did the 3D version of Phantom Menace, and that was, I saw it in Boston, which the theaters around, most of the Emerson College, all the colleges are right there. So I'm by far probably the oldest one in the theater, and I was with college kids that this was nostalgia for them. This was the stop that they got on into Star Wars fandom, and Anakin Skywalker comes on, cheering, Jar Jar Binks cheering, and I don't have a problem with them, but. I could see and I was in the last row in the back, so I could see everything, and to see their reactions, they're just as passionate as I was. I've just been on the train longer.
Well, that's like a celebration. Sorry, go ahead.
No. Yeah. A celebration?
Yeah, so it's celebration like when Hayden Christensen or what's his name, Ahmed Best, right? Mm-hmm. They come on the stage and people just go ballistic for like 5 minutes cheering them.
Oh yeah.
Well, look at the girl Rose. I mean, they gave her a standing ovation.
Yeah.
We're not going to hash out the abuse that she went through, but people love those characters. Other people don't. Mm-hmm.
It's I don't know how you say it. The negativity always gets the attention. Mm-hmm. So there's this handful of people. A handful could be millions of people online. It's still a handful that say the negative things, but there's 10 times more that enjoy the characters, enjoy the films. It's just you don't hear from them. The ones that say the nasty things get the headlines.
Yeah, because they're the ones who are like, it's not worth it to argue.
So Frank, I'm going to tell you right now. So I saw the Phantom Menace in 3D at the Jordan's Furniture. They're up in, I think it was in Framingham. What is that on route?
Yeah,
right. It was the big 3D, the big IMAX there. I'm not sure if you know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah. It's the one in Natick.
Yeah, Natick. That's right. Yeah, that's right. I don't think it's there anymore, but that's funny you brought it up that you saw that. You saw that. You saw that in 3D. I saw it at that place, and it made me sick. It made me so sick because it moved so fast, and the screen was so big that it made me nauseous.
It's still there. There's another one too. So I go to the one. There's going to be it's another Jordan's Furniture, and it's in Reading, Massachusetts, which is closer to me. And when The Force Awakens came out, somebody did a list of like the top 8 theaters to see Star Wars, and that was one of them. This Jordan's Furniture in Reading. So I go to see I still go to the first time I see a Star Wars movie that's come out, I go there and see it. And I think it's bigger than the one that you went to.
Yeah. So just so you guys know, like, this is a furniture store. This is like a Levitt's furniture store with an IMAX theater inside the furniture store.
Okay. Interesting.
It's the strangest thing on the planet.
So when you grow up here, back, it was these two brothers, Jordans that ran it. So growing up, it was always these two guys, and they did their own commercials. It wasn't cheesy like some of the, it wasn't like Crazy Eddie, but it was the two guys from, that owned the furniture store, always on TV. They did the funniest commercials. They were really cool. They were like the uncles that you always wanted. And so now there's still one of them still around, and he's still, when the movie comes up, he comes up and talks to you about the seats and he's so happy that there's speakers in the seats, and he says that they're butt kickers because they're underneath the seat, and it's great. It's definitely like a Massachusetts thing, and it's really cool.
So Frank, I just want to go back to Rebels real quick. So the way that ended, there was a lot of cool characters that came from that. I know Ahsoka kind of bled into that show, but Thrawn, who my first introduction was in Rebels, he was fantastic. I felt like the show picked up so much when he joined Rebels. It went to like a whole nother level of, intensity. It went from kind of being a very young centric to show to like almost like more of an adult Star Wars cartoon, which I'm sure kind of like Clones was like. Do you think you're hoping to see these guys again? Like, because it was very unclear where they went and like kind of what their future role is going to be. Do you have any insight on what's going to happen with those guys?
I just hope to see that. It's not hope. I mean, Dave Filoni has said we will get their story at some point. Nice. Will they? There's been talk. Will they be in 9? Rise of Skywalker? I don't think they need to be. imagine there'll be another show after Resistance ends or something like that. But I'm definitely looking forward to seeing, where do they end up, and that's how they resolve that story. I can't wait. It's there's just so much to look forward to. For me, what I really liked about Thrawn is the respect it shows to Timothy Zahn, and, from the Thrawn trilogies.
Have you read those books?
I did. And I did because seeing Star Wars for the first time when I was 5. So Return of the Jedi comes out in 1983, and then there's nothing until those Star Trilogy books come out. So, I was still the Star Wars guy. My friends in college, oh, you still like Star Wars? And they still say that to me now. You remember when you were a kid, you liked Star Wars?
You remember? You see how many people like it now?
I still like it.
Yeah. Have you seen my website? But when those books came out, what we essentially were told was, how George Lucas said he was always going to do these more stories, that there were more than just these first 3 stories. Well, that's never going to happen. And these books are pretty much as close as you're going to get to that. Couldn't buy them fast enough. Couldn't wait for the next one to come out. So we didn't know at that time that in just a few short years, we're actually going to get 3 more movies. And then, however many years later, after the sale to Disney, we got even more. But those books and Timothy Zahn revitalized the fandom. And for me, it's I'm sure you didn't know at the time, but how important it was to bring Star Wars back. And not that it had gone, but it gave us new Star Wars in a way that other what do they call it now, legend books hadn't. So that was huge. So to have now, because obviously those books aren't canon anymore, or if they ever were, I don't know how that all worked, but they said, we're going to pay respects. They didn't have to use his characters. They could have did something else, but they kept the name. They kept Thrawn. I think that's just a huge kind of thank you to Timothy Zahn and what he did, and recognize that importance those books played for a lot of fans.
Excellent point.
Cool. Yeah.
Have you read any of the quote unquote new canon stuff?
I think the last kind of newish book I read was like Kenobi. Just right
book.
before I love it. I just got I had to get a copy to have John Jackson Miller to sign at Celebration, because I'm working on an Obi-Wan autograph project, because I have Ewan and Al Guinness and Stephen Stanton, James Arnold Taylor. So I'm doing a kind of multimedia autograph project, and I wanted that book, and it's out of print, so I had to hunt it down again. But I ended up finding a couple copies, and he signed one that would be part of that project. I love that book. It was a great book, and but I haven't read Ahsoka. I haven't read any of the Claudia Gray books, E.K. Johnson. I haven't read any of those.
Claudia Gray stuff is awesome. If you ever get a chance.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is that Lost Stars?
Lost Stars, Bloodlines, which is about Leia, and then one just came out like last week about Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan from before episode 1.
Apprentice.
Yeah, which I actually started reading and is really good.
I'd love to. It's in addition to the website, I have 2 jobs.
Yeah,
we're learning that stuff takes a lot of time.
Yeah. It does, but
Matt doesn't have any kids yet, so.
Yeah, so I got time to read all this stuff.
Or a wife,
11-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
But it's. I would love to. It's not. I get most of them signed. So I think I have a signed copy of Lost Stars. But
At least you got them for when you want to read them.
Yeah. Definitely.
So following in line with this, so have you played any of the games? So I know they would announce this Jedi: The Fallen Order, which looks fantastic, and we've been shown other games in the past, which especially EA, who's taken up a lot of the gaming. They cancel them either halfway through or at last minute. Are you into the gaming side of this too?
Yeah, I play when Battlefront came, when the newest Battlefront, the one for EA came out. I got that, and I played that pretty much every night until Battlefront 2 came out. And I played that. I haven't been able to play it. I haven't. This year was the busiest year so far. It has been like the busiest year for my website. Part of that, Jim, is thanks to you helping me to get it to the new over from Drupal Gardens over to WordPress. I've been able to do so much that I've always wanted to do, but I was restricted by the platform I had before.
Yep.
So it's allowed me to do so much more, but by allowing me to do so much more, I have a lot of time for other things. But Battlefront 2 is, I played, I played last night because it was this weekend is a triple XP event for heroes and villains. So I played from out last night to level guys up, and I enjoy it. It's how I kind of when I come home and I can unwind after my daughter goes to bed and stuff, and that's how I do it. So I do it, and I've always played Rogue Squadron, and throughout the years, I mean, Empire Strikes Back when that first came out on Atari, and I played like long.
I did like the Super Nintendo versions; those were fun.
Oh yeah, that was a cool one.
Yeah.
I love the games, but I have enjoyed the two Battlefront for EA, and I didn't see the Fallen Jedi panel or any of I haven't seen anything really. I don't know if they released any gameplay or anything like that. But
they released the trailer for it.
I'm excited for like a nice single player story.
That's what I'm looking for, because I like Battlefront, but it got old after a while, and some of these kids were kicking my butt, so I got tired of it.
That's the thing that gets frustrating. I can't dedicate the time to play. Like, oh yeah, I want to play this, but I come, I play it, I respawn, and like boom, I'm dead again. I was like, I'm done. I was like, I'm too old for this now.
So those two games have been.
I think the best game I was telling you guys the other day, the best game I ever played, I think it was on like PlayStation 2, was that Jango Fett, like that bounty hunter game.
Yeah.
It was hands down the best Star Wars game I've ever played. Like I played those for what are those other ones where you the guy you have to choose between like being a Jedi or going towards the Sith side.
Force Unleashed.
I like the first one of that. The second one wasn't as good, but like the Jango Fett game was definitely the best game I've ever played.
This Fallen Order looks fantastic from what they've shown at the celebration. It looks great.
Oh, I'm sure I'm going to buy it. It doesn't even matter. I don't even know how much it is. I've already bought it.
I mean, I would love. One of the games that the EA canceled, and they were done. I think they were halfway through. It was the 1313. I'm not sure if you heard of that one, Frank.
Yeah, that looked amazing.
That looked amazing.
I did.
And that was supposed to take on several layers in Coruscant. Like you were able to play on different levels of the planet, and it was amazing. And then they canceled it, and it was I think it sent a shockwave through the Star Wars
so annoying
area.
I agree, yeah. No, it was tough when there was a lot of not just hype but expectation and excitement for it, because it felt like it was a done deal. We were getting it, and then
gone.
Yeah, it's tough.
Crazy. So I'm hoping that this is going to be finished, released, and we can all enjoy it. I'm looking for a single.
Us again.
Yep, I want a single player game. That's what I want.
I'm partial to Lego Star Wars.
Lego Star Wars.
Hell yeah!
I used to
play those games till I die.
I used to play those with my brother when he was a kid.
It's funny.
So Frank, I know we touched. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I was gonna say part of the reason why I didn't go to the panel is like, I'm buying this game no matter what.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
You don't need to see it.
You have my money. Yeah.
Just take my money.
Yeah.
So speaking of Legos, do you collect any of the Lego?
Good point.
Any of the Star Wars Lego? No.
No, I don't have any of the Legos. Mostly just because they're expensive and they would sit in a box.
Yeah.
Jim doesn't have any either. That was sarcasm, by the way.
And then I would, then I'd have no. If I did put one together, I'd have no place to keep it.
Yeah, I have basically all the what do you call it?
The Ultimate Collection.
The Ultimate Collections. I have one of each of them.
Oh.
And I do build them and I do put them up. Except my Millennium Falcon. I got about 3/4 way done.
Oh, it's still not done?
It's still not done. I had to put it right back in the
Finish mine
box.
in a week.
It was too big, but I'm looking forward to it because I have the Y-wing. I haven't done the Y-wing, but now they got they got the Rebel Cruiser that's coming.
I want to get that so bad.
May the 3rd.
Yeah.
Comes out May 3rd.
Okay.
I got to get that.
Which looks fantastic.
Is that the which cruiser is that? Is that the
Yeah, Tantive.
Okay.
Yeah. Which it looks fantastic. And if you buy it May 4th, and if you spend over, I think it was $75, you get a cool Lego special just for May the 4th day.
I gotta go to the mall now and
it's it's the Hoth scene with an AT-AT and part of the Rebel base. It's a little tiny thing, but it looks pretty cool. You get that free.
Awesome.
But yeah,
have they released any of the like usually Star Wars.com or somebody will put out like here's all the cool stuff that's happening for May the 4th and all the deals. I haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything yet either.
I've just seen this. I just saw the Lego stuff because that was announced 2 days ago. I got the email.
About Free Comic Book Day.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah. No, he's asking if for Free Comic Book Day.
Same day.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll have a ton of stuff going on though.
I think there are some Star Wars books coming out that day.
There's one Star Wars comic on Free Comic Book Day. It's one of those
IDW. Yeah, I saw that too.
IDW, Adventures.
Yeah, it's like kind of like I don't know how that worked out because that's the only book that they print is like that kind of like animated version. I think Disney just licensed out the like animated cartoon version of some of their comic books to IDW. But I guess on the topic of Disney, we'll roll into kind of the merger since Star Wars has become a Disney property. Kind of talk about the pros and cons. So on your side, let's start with the positives. What have you seen as kind of like the pros of Disney acquiring Star Wars?
Yeah, you talked about Episode 8 already. So besides that,
they now own my entire childhood.
Yeah.
You call them white slavers?
I see new movies. Not just Skywalker movies, but Rogue One and Solo. I see, now an animated series, and I see new Star Wars. And one of the things that after the merger that became clear to me is, Star Wars came out when I was 5. I'm going to have Star Wars until I die, and not just like new Star Wars. I'm going to have Star Wars to look forward to for the rest of my life, more likely than not. And that's because of Disney. It was sold to somebody that could live beyond George Lucas. So that's, I look at it on that perspective. I mean, I'm going to have new Star Wars for the foreseeable future, and that's, that's comforting.
Do you think
it's going to be sad that?
Do you think it's too much in such a short period?
Oversaturation.
I'll answer it from two perspectives. From a Star Wars fan, no such thing as too much Star Wars for me. As an autograph collector, it changed the entire game of how we collect. There are people that have been completists and will go to the
That's why I
extent
never
of
got
guys.
into the autographs. I can't. I'm very much a completist, and like just thinking about that, I was like, nope, not doing it.
Even when you think you get everything, like, oh, the guy that trained the elephants that they made into the Banthas in A New Hope, or the guy that's wearing the pink shorts holding the boom mic, things like that. So, and it would take a lot of work, but you could do that through the original trilogy, prequels. Now you can't. Those days are gone, and I enjoyed going and getting those really obscure names of people that, way behind the scenes. I can't. I've had to change. I'm trying to stick just to, were they in the credits? Whether it's behind the camera or in front of it, I can't. It's impossible to keep up. We have more signers available to us than ever before, not just because of the sale, but I think more because of the convention scene and how easy it is to just pop into that, and they're paying big bucks, just $500,000 in a weekend, depending on who you are.
It's a second income. It's a second income for these actors and actresses. Really, technically, I mean, that's what. Look at the amount of money that they're getting from all this.
You're in the right franchise, and you have one image that you can print out, or you can have that of your character on screen, you don't have to act anymore. You know, you can live on just signing autographs. And you guys know there's a different show every weekend. Yeah. I don't know how many shows there are every weekend. It's not just one show every weekend. There's
absolutely
many. But so that's all the positive is that there's, as a Star Wars fan, and again, I would say I'm a Star Wars fan first. I collect autographs because I love Star Wars. That's how I express my love for Star Wars. So having new Star Wars is great. I mean, it's weird. You kind of get possessive or defensive of your franchises that you love. So, when Solo didn't make the money that was supposed to, I said, well, they said it was because of the release was put in May because of Mary Poppins or something. They didn't want it to compete. And so I guess things like that when it comes to Disney would be the negatives. I mean, I didn't care. I mean, it was 6 months after The Last Jedi. It could have been, it could have been 3 months after The Last Jedi. I don't care. It's not going to, I'm going to watch it no matter what. But right. I guess from the perspective of the fandom and the franchise, that didn't have didn't put Star Wars in the best of light.
Makes sense.
Interesting.
So what do you want to see as a fan, going forward? After this trilogy's done, we got the TV show coming, but what do you want to see going forward?
I guess now, once Luke and Anakin's story is truly done, I'm open to anything. Show me something I've never thought of. I mean, we have Knights of the Old Republic. We kind of know some of that history. I'm love to see some series back then. I guess as long as it feels like Star Wars, and I can't define that. It's not something I can.
I think a lot of people would understand what you're saying, though. Like you're either going to understand that or you're not, kind of thing.
Right.
Like when I walk, and I've kind of told these guys, it's like the only movie that I kind of went to, and it was the one that didn't do well. You just brought it up, was Solo. Like I kind of left that. It was just like, I mean, other than Chewbacca, I just didn't get a very Star Wars feel from it. It felt like, and I know it was supposed to be, a Solo movie. On top of being a Solo movie, it's not part of the episodes or anything like that. It just seemed kind of disconnected from that world a little bit. And I know they tried, but it seemed like the connections were a little forced. And I think something like that would have been better if they did it kind of like a Mandalorian. Like I would have loved to see that on Disney Plus, and they could have given us a long story, and you could have got Darth Maul involved with it that way. I just think as a movie, it didn't feel right. I mean, that was just my personal view on it.
Which is it's interesting because there's a movie, there's the standalone that's about one of the most beloved characters in the saga who had just died a couple movies earlier, right?
Yeah.
But then Rogue One, who it's just the only lightsaber you see is at the very end, and that's we think of does it feel like Star Wars? And Rogue One is arguably one of the most. It feels more like Star Wars than almost anything else. And it doesn't focus on Jedi. It's Sith and good versus evil. It's the mission. And so that, to me, felt very much like Star Wars, even though it didn't have, what we imagine, Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader.
Right.
The light versus the dark. But it had the heart of Star Wars for me. I felt it. So it can be about, it doesn't have to be about Jedi and Sith. It'd still be very Star Wars to me.
Right. That's awesome. Part of what I love about this fandom, this franchise, is how wildly different everybody's opinions and views can be. Like, you could have conversations with people for hours and hours about this stuff, and then go and talk to someone else and have that same conversation completely different.
Yep. I gotta say, one of the things when I go on to when people invite me onto their podcast, obviously it's most of what I'm talking about is autographs. And that's what they invite me on to talk about. This is what I love. This conversation about, of course I love talking about autographs, but anytime I have the opportunity to talk about just Star Wars, if you could see my face, how lit up it is right now. to have this type of conversation, And
this, I mean, whatever collection and stuff we get into, there's something that got us there. There's a reason that, we went from, hey, I want to buy this comic book and read this comic book, and now like you look in my basement and there's walls, like walls and walls of boxes of comic books, and but it's like what got you there is like reading the stories, being emotionally attached to something like that. Like we had a whole episode on our first experiences with Star Wars, and I was sick I was sick when I was like 5 or 6, and my dad had rented me all 3 movies. I'm a little bit old, I'm a little bit younger than Jim and Bruce here, but I had watched them I think maybe 3 years after Return of the Jedi had come out, and I was like, I don't know about this. They seem like pretty old, Dad. And he's like, just watch them, trust me. And I was just like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And I was like, yeah, and that was still after the first one was at least 10 years old by then, and right. They've still stayed with me to that long. Matt here, he was born the same year Toy Story came out, so that's why he's called Toy Story, and he's had an emotional attachment to them too. And your first impressions were the originals too, right?
My first one was episode 2.
Yeah,
actually.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. My first one in the theater. I had seen the originals first.
Oh, you had seen? Yeah, no. But
I'm sorry. My first Star Wars movie was episode 4, but my first theater experience was episode 2. Unfortunately, but as a kid, I liked it.
It's funny because I never got to see them in the theater. You guys did.
I did.
But I remember there was a big deal. I think in like 1998
when they did the re-releases.
They re-released them in the theaters, and like this was huge. Like I was like, Mom, we have to go see every single one of these, and like seeing those in the theater, like those original movies, that was amazing to me. I was like, it's before we got any Star Wars, and then like you finally heard like there's gonna be a new Star Wars movie. I was like, oh my god. I was like I remember buying tickets. I think I was a senior in high school, and like ran to the movie theater. I bought one extra ticket. I was like, who wants to go with me? And one of my buddies was like, I'll go. And like we went to go see Phantom Menace, and I was like, all right, cool, Star Wars. Yeah. It didn't even matter what happened. Yeah. It's like that guy with the horns was cool.
It's just something about the Star Wars movies. It's like just sitting in the theater, like you said, with the re-release of the 4, 5, and 6. It's just something special. It just gives it so much more like pizzazz and excitement to it than watching it at home, and even on a widescreen TV.
They still hold the test of time too. I was watching kind of the originals to get ready for this, and I was like, these are so good. I was like, everyone's fantastic. I mean, granted, as like actors, like Hamill was definitely the weakest out of those guys, but even him was like compared to like the weakest in any of these new characters, like he's much better than any of the young actors like nowadays. But it was just like these were just so good. I was like, and like there was so much effort put into everything there, like and they're making these like props and stuff like that. It's like this is not green screen. These are real props. They're like blowing stuff up. Yeah. Like the look and feel of it.
That's an actual computer panel.
It just seems so authentic.
And stuff.
Yeah.
I watched a documentary the other day about like the whole behind the scenes process of episode 4 because they did like months of filming and special effects for that, and I was watching how badly it was going, but just to see like the little props that they're building and they're blowing them up in front of a green screen, it's just so cool to see the work that they put into that.
All right, so
that
now,
was
go ahead.
when you start, a lot of us, when we start collecting autographs, you just want the actors. It was from Star Wars. It's it's an actor that was in the movie, but it allows you to, when you start to see the behind the scenes people at conventions, and you get to learn more about, through autograph collecting, learn more about what they did and get more invested in those credits that are scrolling at the end and putting a name, that name to the face and hearing their stories. Those are some of my favorite autographs now, but it's something that collectors they get into it after the fact. It's like not too many people start by collecting the behind the scenes people.
Right. I mean,
I love when people make that transition to it, because you get to just appreciate what they did. Lauren Peterson was just at Celebration. And he's a legend, for me, it just helped me to appreciate so much more. It's just not a name at the end of the movie that you probably leave before it comes down anyway, or fast forward through.
And what did he do? And what did he do? What did he do?
Sculpt. He did models. Like there's some great images of him from the AT-ATs from. He's kind of popping up through the floor, and
he's the guy who moved them around from the trapdoor, right?
Yep, he's one of them. And there's a great shot of him in the what do they call it? The space slug that comes out of the asteroid that the Falcon flies out of.
The giant space worm.
That was like a puppet, right?
Yeah, so there's a shot. There's a shot of him behind the scenes of him standing in the mouth of that. Is that right? He's in. I think it was. Excuse me. I think it was that space slug. It might have been. I think that's what it must have been.
That's cool.
But like those guys, because like you're saying, from watching the behind the scenes, Star Wars is it's George Lucas's vision, but it's Ralph McQuarrie's artwork, and it's John Williams' music, and it's these people that work behind the scenes that the technology didn't exist. They made it because they said, "This is what we want. Can you make it?" All right, we'll figure it out. And they've done that throughout the entire saga. Okay, can you do this? That doesn't exist, but we'll figure it out. We'll make it. And in the process, ILM has become
oh my God, they're
just
insane.
Where they are now in Skywalker Sound because of bringing all those movies to life. It wouldn't be what it is with all those pieces if Star Wars had a contemporary soundtrack and not John Williams conducting. It wouldn't be the same.
No.
And the images when you said you watch A New Hope and that opening scene when the Star Destroyer is going over the Tantive 4, those had to be made, and it just wasn't computed. That people had to make that believable and look real.
Yeah.
And Yoda, we all know how Yoda was going to make or break the franchise, not just Empire Strikes Back. If it didn't look right, it was going to sink the whole thing. So the people that made Star Wars what it is behind the scenes, we owe a lot to them. And I love when people seek out their autographs and show them that kind of, we appreciate that you are one of the reasons why Star Wars is what it is, and it means so much to us.
Yeah, they were literally kind of creating the technology on the spot to make like a vision come true kind of thing.
It's insane.
Well, look, I had a conversation with Colin Cantworth. He was the guy that did the Death Star, the model of the Death Star, and he was telling me a story how George Lucas hated the seam around the Death Star, so that's where the trench came into to hide the seam on the ball. So he had they made a trench around this model to hide the seam. It was interesting to hear that
from the guy who did
the guy that did it.
Yeah, knowing those stories, those behind the scenes stories, it doesn't, like I said, when I knew about like Ewoks being Wookiee and Pig Latin and whatever, and some of those real life moments that take away from Star Wars, the behind the scenes never does. Yeah, I love hearing those things. The thing with Star Wars is we still. We think that George Lucas was handed the Journal of the Wills by some ancient society that gave it to him, and that it all exists in this book. And when we hear things like directors getting fired and just the reality of movie making, kind of when that rears its head into Star Wars and becomes part of the conversation, it reminds us that he made up the Journal of the Wills. It's not a real thing, but we want it to be. We want to just think that this all existed as one cohesive story, and it not always the case.
Do you have a George Lucas autograph?
I was about to ask that.
I do have I have one. And I did it again. I feel bad when I say I only have one. Because when you're in, sometimes you get caught up in it in autograph circles and what's out there. I'm very happy to have what I have. It's him behind the scenes with Samuel L. Jackson dressed up as Mace Windu.
That's cool.
And I have that, so very happy to have him in my collection.
That's
Very
cool.
Awesome.
All right, so the big moment here is we're going to do our rankings. So you're our guest. So just on the episode films, we're going to do the rankings. Okay. So you have 8 films here, and I guess we'll hear what you think from kind of, episode 1 through 8 so far.
Okay, so my favorites, 4, 5. Phantom Menace.
Ooh, interesting.
Revenge of the Sith. Force Awakens. Return of the Jedi. Last Jedi. I don't know if I missed any. Attack of the Clones is last.
Yeah.
So my favorite, and I know is Empire is the best. There's too much emotional ties for me to put anything but 4 is the best for me, because it's more than just. I'm not looking at it just as a movie. It's everything that goes with it.
Yeah,
and
without it, nothing else can exist.
Right, 4 is my favorite. I mean, Empire Strikes Back is definitely right after it. And those in between 4 and the only 2 that don't change, it's number 1 and number 8. Depending on the day, I can switch the others around in between. There's not a lot of space in between 2 through 7. Mm-hmm. They can be interchangeable. But it does remind me, like, when I think about looking at all the movies, the 3 biggest moments have been finding out that there's going to be, after Star Wars came out as a little kid, finding out they were going to make another one was huge.
Right.
And then finding out they were going to do the prequels was huge. And then finding out they were going to do the sequels. So there's all these moments tied up into that.
Like, it ends up not being just about the movie. It's about your experiences around that movie.
I don't know that I could. I'm not somebody that can analyze it from a film perspective of movie making. Everything. It's story and emotion and feelings for me. And
the rank is your personal rank. It doesn't have to have any any background behind it. So I guess at this point, Bruce, you want to go next? You're slightly older than Jim, right? We'll go in age order here.
Thanks. Yeah, I have episode 4, 5, and 6
in that order.
In that order, just because I don't know, a little purist. It's what started. It's still the 3 that I enjoy the most out of all of them. Then I went with Phantom Menace, and then I went with Force Awakens. And then the next 3, I really don't have any specific order because I really didn't care too much for one over the other. Was 2, 3, and 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
They could, they can go in between, but those would be on the bottom of my list.
Jim, my list is pretty much the same as Bruce, but my 4, 5, and 6, we're talking the original, not the
redone,
not the redone.
Editions.
I didn't like the redone special editions. I didn't like the extra added crap that went along in that. I think it took away
Original
from
theatrical
the
release.
The original theatrical release is where I'm at.
So you know this, but I'll tell Rich.
Frank.
I'm sorry, Frank Rich. Matt just shared something with us the other day where we were able to just digitally on our phones kind of watch the
Yeah, you might know about these, the despecialized editions. Have you heard of those?
I did, yeah. Somebody came up as connected to that he was going to be at a show or something. So
they are surprisingly good.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So basically, I think I might be getting a little bit of this wrong, but because the best versions of the original theatrical release out there right now are the Laserdisc versions. So basically, what he did is he burned the Laserdisc versions and then went in frame by frame and fixed stuff, to look as close to the original as possible. And to be as HD as possible. So they actually ended up being really good versions.
So far, the only thing that I saw from at least from A New Hope, was the thing that I liked that George Lucas went back and added is that scene right before they take off for the battle, and he meets Biggs. Mm-hmm. You get that introduction. Before that, when I watched those movies originally, he says Biggs, leaves when he's still on Tatooine, and then all of a sudden, I hear him say the name Biggs, when they're up in the air. I'm just like, wait, is that the same guy who was talking about in the beginning? There's no answer. They don't meet up before they get in the air. It's that was the only scene I was like, that really worked. That should have really never been cut from the movie. I don't know why it was, but that was the only thing that I really enjoyed. Anything that they added to Return of the Jedi, that garbage music scene
At the end.
in Jabba's palace,
Oh,
that was awful, in my opinion. Awful. But
That and changing the Force Ghosts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That bothered me too.
One thing that made sense, I thought, was putting Ian McDermott in episode 5 as the hologram.
Yeah.
Because you didn't watch episode 5 yet, right?
No, I did.
The-
I know. Yeah, I know. It's not him. It's somebody Clive or something like that.
Yeah.
Clive Reval.
Clive
Yeah.
Rep-
Yeah.
So for
his
continuity
voice.
wise, at
But
least.
that wasn't his face. That wasn't Clive's face. That was just his voice.
Right.
Yeah.
Someone
else's face.
So my list is pretty much the same as Bruce, but with the original 4.
Okay.
There are 3. The original 3.
Okay.
So mine is, I guess this is going to be pretty different from yours.
Yeah.
I like Return of the Jedi best. I know the Ewoks get a bad name. I didn't mind them. I think the epic battle they have. So there's 3 awesome battles that you never really seen that much action other than like Hoth at that point. You know, you have the space battle going on, you have the battle on Endor, and then you have Vader and Luke like going down. That music scene, like that's aside from like the normal Star Wars theme, the background music playing when Vader and Luke are have that lightsaber battle going on. I love that. Anytime I hear that, I get goosebumps every time I hear that playing. It's just such an amazing score. So that's my favorite one. And then, you know, obviously I have to go with Empire next. And then A New Hope. I feel like A New Hope, I really enjoy it, and I understand the nostalgic value. I feel out of all of it, it's probably kind of the most boring one out of the original, but still, I mean, that's definitely number 3 for me. Number 4, big surprise, was The Force Awakens. I really enjoyed it, and I feel like Han Solo, Harrison Ford, he did so much to make that a really enjoyable movie. I think his performance, I don't know if it's definitely on par with his original performances. I think he put everything he had into that, and he's like, this is it. I was like, I'm going to give you everything I have, and I'm never going to play Han Solo again, so don't ask me. And then I like, out of the original, the prequels, I think I like Phantom Menace the best. You know, Darth Maul was definitely the coolest thing that came out of, in my opinion. Other than Obi-Wan Kenobi, I'm going to give you that. He was amazing. Ewan McGregor's portrayal of Obi-Wan Kenobi was right on par, I think, with Alec Guinness. So Phantom Menace, then Revenge of the Sith, Last Jedi, and then again, we all agree Attack of the Clones was pretty terrible. Although I got to tell you, I did kind of fall in love with that girl for a little while after Attack of the Clones. That mid dress that she had in the battle scene, I was like, "What's her name?" Natalie Portman. I was like, "I kind of like this girl.
Nice. All right, so mine is pretty similar to yours, I think. So I'm starting with 6 again. Number 2, Empire Strikes Back, and I think number 3 for me has to be Episode 3.
Wow.
Yeah, because so for like context, I saw Episode 2 was the first one I saw in the movies, but I also saw Episode 3 in the movies, and I was 10 years old at that time, 2005, and that entire movie just as a 10-year-old blew my mind. Like, it is, Hayden Christensen's acting, questionable acting aside, that movie gets going at 1,000 miles an hour really fast and does not stop until the end.
It's got quite a bit of action in it. I'll give it that much.
Not even like action, just like exposition and like everything going on with the characters. It's to this day, like I watch it and I can't pause it until it's over.
There's definitely has to be somebody who's talented enough. If someone could go in, redo that movie, replace it with all his images with actual Darth Vader, get James Earl Jones to go in there and read all the lines, I would see that would probably move up to like number 3 on my list. I just can't get past Hayden. I mean, otherwise, great movie. I mean, General Grievous, another amazing character that shows up in that. There's a lot of good in that movie. It's just a lot of bad too.
Yeah.
My favorite part of that was when Grievous says they're on, Mustafar, it's a volcanic planet. Because when I was a kid, I remember in the newspaper, my hometown newspaper ran this thing about, it must have been right after Empire or whatever, and it said that Darth Vader ended up in the suit because him and Obi-Wan got into a fight on a volcano, and he got burned. And I don't know why it was in the Gloucester Daily Times, but I read it all those years ago, and part of me, when I went into Revenge of the Sith, how many years later, thinking, man, it's got to be a volcano. It has to be, hoping that it would be connected to that story I read, in 1982 or whatever. And
that must be a great feeling.
When he said that, I was like, oh, yes. I was so happy.
No, that movie's always has a special place for me. And then after that, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, Grievous, when I was looking for a logo for my website, I commissioned an artist. His name's Kevin Lyle. And he's like, man, you're old school Star Wars. It has to be a bounty hunter. It's got to be Greedo. I'm like, I got to get a character that I can tie in a line about collecting. So I started thinking, it took about 2 seconds. Your lightsabers will make a fine addition to my collection.
Yeah.
It's Grievous.
There you go.
Awesome. So then after 3, I got 4, 7, 1, and then it's a flip between 2 and 8. I'm not sure.
Interesting.
Yeah. But see, that's also another thing I love. Like, we all have wildly
views.
different lists for the most part, and it's a lot of it's based on our experiences with these movies.
Yeah, it's hard. I feel like Star Wars is one of those things where, we've said, like, try to judge it without an emotional attachment. I really don't think, like, Star Wars is one of those movies where it's beyond that. So, I mean, it's just you can't remove emotion from Star Wars. It's like, some people it's a religion.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Right. Well, for me, I've had a relationship with Star Wars longer than I had my own brother. He was 1979. So, like, I've known Star Wars longer than I've known him. I can't, and we say this, I'm sure you guys have said it too, I can't imagine what life would be like if Star Wars wasn't part of it. It's that big a part of my life. Even when I had a website, it would still be a huge part of my life.
It wouldn't be the same life, honestly.
Right.
Jim's wife was on the podcast last night. And
Last week.
Last week. She was like, yeah, she's like, George Lucas was like, my everything. And it's like kind of why I married Jim. It's like, they might not even been married if, Star Wars didn't exist.
That's right.
Yeah, you wouldn't have had that link.
we had the Star Wars Imperial Death March coming into our wedding. I mean, that's what we came into.
That's awesome.
So yeah,
that is awesome.
Very cool. All right, so now, Frank, if you don't mind, we're going to get into our game show, Be the Geek Star Wars Edition. Yeah, so you're going to be going.
I'm a little nervous here, Frank.
So you're going to be going up against Tess. We got a bunch of questions, and the rule is first to 5 wins. I'm going to start with one of you, and then if you get it wrong or you don't answer, it goes to the next person. They have a chance to.
Well, Frank should go first. He's the guest. If you have any multiple choice, I wouldn't let that fall to the.
No multiple choice.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I got a lot of questions, so hopefully, hopefully we can get through a lot of them. All right, ready?
Yeah, I'm as ready as I'm gonna be.
Cool.
Let's go.
All right, Frank. Who is the only actor to appear in every main entry Star Wars film to date?
Anthony Daniels.
Correct.
Ding ding.
Nice.
Come on.
Tess. What was Luke's call sign during the Battle of Yavin?
Red 5.
Very good.
I gotta make these harder.
Start easy.
Yeah, they've got to increase in difficulty.
Who placed the order for Clone Army with the Kaminoans in Episode 2? Frank.
Cypher Diaz.
Very good. Was that 3? Okay. Tess. Name all the actors who either played Anakin, wore the Darth Vader suit, or voiced Anakin or Vader in Episodes 1 through 6. Not including stunt doubles, just main actors.
All of them?
Yep.
Anakin Hayden Christensen, David Prowse. You said voiced?
Mm-hmm.
James Earl Jones. Sorry.
Yep. I gotta beep that now. Bleep that out now.
Is there a Shaw? Was there a Shaw?
Mm-hmm.
Was he the? Do I need the full name?
Mm-hmm.
Sebastian Shaw.
Very good.
That's 4.
Missing.
Michael Pennington. Was there a Michael Pennington?
I don't know.
Frank, do you know? Was there?
No, it's not. Michael Pennington wasn't Vader.
All right. That's all I got.
Mike, you want to save it?
Frank.
I'm sorry, Frank.
Jake Lloyd.
Good. So do we give that question to him or just?
You want me to you want me to list Jake Lloyd?
No, you because Tess already named them.
Okay.
Should we nix that?
All right.
No,
so give him another
that.
question. I got most of them.
We're still at 2-1. Frank's
Okay.
in the
Yeah.
lead.
So it's his turn though. I got it wrong.
Yeah.
Just give him a new
All right,
question.
Frank. We're all familiar with the famous line, "I am your father," but this was kept secret and added in post-production to present leaks. What did David Prowse actually say on set?
Obi-Wan killed your father.
Correct.
Whoa.
Very good.
Wow.
That's cool.
I did not know that. I would have got that.
Whoa.
Nice. Tess, ready? Mm-hmm. Who first uttered the line, "It's a trap," and in what film?
Are we going chronologically or in order of release? you're saying?
Chronologically. Well, sorry, in order of release.
Okay.
That's
Princess
me.
Leia in A New Hope. She says, obviously a trap. They're tracking us? Is that when?
It was Princess Leia, but I mean, does she say it's a trap? I actually don't know. In episode 4, that's not what I was.
It's not episode 4? I guess I got it wrong.
Frank, do you know?
It was Princess Leia episode 5.
Very good. Can you give the context?
Yeah, she's being she is being held by she's being held by actually Jerry Bullock is playing a lieutenant Imperial and he's holding her and she goes around the corner and she fights him and says it's a trap.
Good.
Don't, it's a trap.
Wow. Check that out.
It's a trap.
I'm pretty sure she does
does
say
he
it's a
get the
trap
point for that?
in the episode 4.
Because that was a 2-part question.
Yeah, no point.
No point. Yeah.
I got plenty more.
Okay. All right. 3-1. Frank is in the lead.
Okay. Who's next? Tess again?
Tess.
All right, Tess, ready? Mm-hmm. What is the name of the laughing monkey-like creature that sits next to Jabba in Return of the Jedi?
I don't know.
Frank?
Salacious Crumb.
Very good.
Oh.
That's because you guys know who created these people.
Mark Dodson voiced him. Tony McVeigh made him.
Check him out.
Nice. All right, Tess.
Yeah, good.
What are the first words uttered in the Star Wars saga, and who said them in order of release? Just watch this movie.
I know.
You giving him clues.
It's obviously the first movie.
I mean, it was Anthony Daniels, right? What did he say? I can't remember what he said. Sorry. I know it's Anthony Daniels, but
Give it to Frank.
Frank?
It's Anthony Daniels. I can't think of what it is either.
He says, "Did you hear that?"
yeah,
After the explosion in the ship. All right.
yeah, I didn't know the exact line.
4-1 in Frank's favor.
I'm gonna catch hell for that. Not knowing that.
He didn't get that.
No, I know that. He
No,
didn't
I
get
know.
that. Yep.
Oh, did you give him that point?
No, I didn't get
Okay,
No,
sorry,
I think he gave him the earlier one though.
Sorry. So Tess,
No,
right?
but I think it's still 3-1 though.
Yeah, it's still 3-1.
I think you gave him one earlier.
No, he got the.
Oh, he did get that. I'm sorry.
the crumb.
Salacious Crumb.
But was there one before? Whatever. It
you
doesn't
got it.
matter.
It's fine. We'll probably get through all of them anyway. All right, Tess. What was George Lucas's first feature film?
I can't remember which one it was. Is it THX or is it the other one? I'm gonna say THX 11378.
Correct.
That's what June said that last week on our podcast.
Yeah. Well, I asked her about it. I was like, were you a fan of THX 11378?
And she said that was his first flick.
Yeah.
All right, Frank's about to, if he gets the next one right, win. So, should we,
Up it up.
Frank,
Yes.
the Millennium Falcon is a heavily modified version of what ship?
YT 1500 freighter.
Close. 1300.
Still pretty good.
That was really good.
'Cause I wouldn't have gotten that far.
I wouldn't have gotten the letters. I knew it was a freighter.
All right.
Tess is still in it.
All right.
Still alive.
Let's see.
Matt's gonna run out of questions.
No, I got plenty. Princess Leia tells Grand Moff Tarkin that the Rebel base is located on what planet?
I really just watched this. Dantooine?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Very good.
Tess is catching.
I feel like I said it just like she did. They're on down to me. Down to me.
All right, Frank.
Yeah, he's going to win.
When Ewan McGregor was a child,
Oh, great. You asked him an Obi-Wan Kenobi question.
his family took him to see the original Star Wars because his uncle was in the movie. Who does his uncle
I know
play?
the answer to this.
Wedge Antilles.
Very good.
Ding, ding, ding.
Nice.
And Frank wins.
Good job.
That was awesome.
Greg.
I knew that one, too.
Should I belt out some of the rest or not?
You can.
I got. All right, one for both of you. Whoever answers it first.
right.
What are the odds of successfully navigating an asteroid field?
3,720.
That's nice.
Oh, that's it.
I was just enough for this.
All right, awesome.
There you go. So, hey, Frank, we do appreciate you coming on our show. We absolutely loved having you on and giving your point of view on the Star Wars side of this. Can you tell, some of the listeners that we have, can you just tell us how they can find you, and then maybe how they can start looking for autographs?
Yeah, like what's your piece of advice for getting into this if you're not already?
There you go.
Well, we would love to be a resource for you to help guide you to the different, to help you make informed decisions when getting autographs and where the safe places are. We're at StarWarsAutographNews.com, social media, Twitter and Instagram at SW Autograph. We have a weekly podcast, Star Wars Autograph News, and a YouTube page. So that's where you can find us. There's the first place to look for autographs, you have to say, is the official licensee for Star Wars photos, which is Topps, which we know Topps has been around forever. That's a good place to start. You could, if you don't have a single Star Wars autograph right now, you could go there, place an order. In a week or two, you're going to have a guaranteed, authentic, real Star Wars autograph to get your collection going. But I'll give you two others that are just as reputable, and those are Cool Waters. If you just Cool Waters is one word. This is run by the person who, if you've seen that there's Harrison Ford is doing signings, he's the one that's been behind these signings happening, Derek. And he has, if you go to their shop on Cool Waters, it's Cool Waters Productions, another safe place to get autographs. And the former licensee for Star Wars photographs, Official Pix, and that's Pix, P-I-X. You can go there and check out their store online, and you can feel safe buying autographs from them. So there's three places right now you could not have a single autograph in your collection, and from there you'll see minor characters all the way up to Ewan McGregor and Harrison Ford and maybe even Carrie Fisher, and a lot of Daisy Ridley, Adam Driver. You could have their autographs in a week or two by placing your orders today. So those are three resources that you could get your collection going now. And then I think I mentioned earlier, Star Wars actor appearances, Eric's site, where you could find a listing of Comic-Cons that are near you where these signers could be, and you could meet a Star Wars actor face-to-face and get their autograph there. So those are four resources in addition to, Star Wars Autograph News that could put autographs in your collection very soon.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for that, man. Thank you.
Guys, thank you so much for having me on. I go on a lot of shows, and this is a great one. And I've had, we've seen each other. We spent time together at different shows, and I always look forward to seeing you guys. And congratulations on this show and what you're doing, your website. I was thrilled to see when Jim was sharing it that you guys did this. So thank you for having me on. It's been an honor and so much fun to talk about Star Wars on the show. Tk you.
Thank you so much for being here.
It was fun to actually have the time outside of a show to sit down and talk about Star Wars in a civilized manner.
And I'm sure we'll see you at some more shows coming up.
Yeah,
definitely.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks again, Frank.
Thank you so
great.
much. And may the 4th be with you.
Yeah, may the 4th be with you.
Thank you.
All right, man. See you.
All And that was awesome.
That was a good show. Well, it was nice to have him on here. And again, Frank, thank you so much for coming on our show. We really do appreciate it. So we're just going to move along. We're going to step outside the Star Wars world here now. And where are we?
So we all.
You got to scroll down a little.
I'm going to scroll down just a little.
So as we're recording this, it is the day after Avengers Endgame came out.
Yes.
And we all saw it very late last night. And one word, long.
Yes.
Very long.
Jim did not go to the bathroom.
I did
which
not go to the bathroom.
Extremely impressed by. Bruce did not go, and he had a medium-sized Coke. I don't know how you didn't do that. I hope you were wearing a catheter.
But yeah, Avengers, that was good. I think we're going to spend a little more time on this on another on our
Yeah,
next
we
show.
want to give people a little bit more time to watch it. I mean, there is stuff that can be spoiled. I feel like it's probably straightforward.
We can't say much about it.
Do we want to give our ratings yet, or should we wait?
I think we should give a grade. Like, let's do our grade.
Jim, JJ here. I'm going to give it a 6, maybe a 6.5. I'm going to go that route. I'm between those two numbers for some strange reason.
I think I'm also at a 6. So
Okay,
6.
That's Matt 6.
Wow, you guys
Bruce?
are harsh.
It's actually not harsh. I don't think it's harsh.
I didn't.
6
think
is
that
me
it was-
being a little lenient.
If I just take the Avengers movies themselves, I wouldn't say out of all the Avengers movies that it was the best one, but I'm going to give it a 7.5.
Wow.
okay.
right.
I mean, I don't think that's unreasonable at all.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I think that's okay.
Yeah, a lot of it's personal
Yeah.
preference
Yeah.
to like what we want to see in these movies. Like you got to remember, this is something that's tying up 25 or something movies.
Listen, at the end of the day, though, we absolutely recommend everybody go see
Yeah,
it.
go see
I
it.
mean, this is
It was an enjoyable experience, no
was,
matter what.
It was a good closing to a very long story, and there's it sets up the future as well. So I mean, that's really all we're gonna say about it for now.
And the best thing is this afternoon, I don't know if you guys knew this, but what was it? Sci-Fi Channel and the USA Networks had all the Marvel movies on. Like for the entire weekend because Endgame was on, and I just happened to watch the Avengers and like the first, I don't know, 40 minutes of Age of Ultron. So yeah, with those three is like, I got to give it the first one. Is the best out of the three.
Oh yeah, of course.
So
Yeah.
but and you guys went when I said Age of Ultron. It's like I kind of like Age of Ultron. A little bit better than Endgame.
What about Infinity War?
Well, I liked Infinity War better than Age of Ultron, most definitely.
Yeah.
But, and it was definitely better than,
I think you need to rework the rankings in your head then.
the Avengers, followed by Infinity War, then Age of Ultron, then Endgame.
Okay.
Okay.
That would be for those, just for the Avenger movies. That would be my ranking.
All right, fair. All right, so we're going to move off that topic.
We're going to talk about it at some point.
next
though,
episode.
We're in a few episodes or something.
We'll give it at least.
We'll have a discussion about it. We have a lot to say. We've already talked a lot about it. We should have recorded that conversation, but we didn't.
we really should have.
It's okay. We can rehash it again. I think to some degree.
Oh my goodness.
we can't even say
Lots
what
of
we were
detail.
talking about because that's spoiler in itself. So
Anything else going on right now?
I don't know. I mean, the only thing on the agenda for us, other than more recordings and stuff like that, is that small show we're going to do at Forest Hills High School, May 19th. We don't really have any other plans to do anything yet. I think we have to get a little organized with our stuff. We have I still haven't got those cards yet. As soon as I get those cards, I will be making a post about it, letting you guys know when they'll be available. But I think that's really it for now.
All right.
So, I mean, I'll be honest, I have been reading and watching a lot.
Good.
Actually, maybe not reading, but I've been watching a lot.
Let's hear it.
I was watching Cobra Kai. Well, first I should
Nice.
say I was binging the original Star Wars before the original theatrical releases. I got through the first 2 movies, and I haven't got to see Return of the Jedi yet. But I was confident I knew that movie well enough. But I never knew what that stupid thing's name was, Matt.
Salacious Crumb.
Salacious B. Crumb. I was like, okay.
What was the original name for Return of the Jedi?
Was it The
Revenge
Last
of the
Jedi? Oh, Revenge of the Jedi. Yeah.
What was its working title?
Blue Sky? Bluegrass?
Blue Harvest.
I didn't know that. I knew it because I looked at your questions afterwards. But Cobra Kai, fantastic.
I didn't even watch season.
So the first season was amazing. I think this season, it's still good, but this one focuses a little bit less on the Johnny Lawrence character, who is played by William Sapka. I hope I'm not mispronouncing his name. We got to meet him at Comic Con a few years
Isn't
ago.
it just
Is that
Zapka?
Zapka. Yeah,
Is
William
that
Zapka.
Hulu or Netflix? Or?
It's on YouTube, so you have to have like a YouTube subscription.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm free trialing
It's,
that.
YouTube
it's
trying to
literally
break
the
in.
only thing that I'm using YouTube subscription for. But first season, absolutely fantastic. This season, 2, they kind of reintroduced John Kreese.
Nice.
And I honestly don't know the actor's name for that. I was actually not prepared to talk about this, but he's in kind of like, he seems to trying to be getting redeemed, but seems to not really be. He seems to try. I'm sorry, I'm really fumbling my words here. He's trying to get Johnny to think he wants to be redeemed, but I don't think that's his real mission here. And I really like the Johnny Lawrence character. I think it adds a lot of layers to him from just the original Karate Kid movie that we've seen in 1984. His relationship with the character Miguel Diaz on it is fantastic. I feel like we haven't seen as much of that in this season, and that's the kind of thing that I wanted to see more of. But we are seeing more of Daniel LaRusso, Ralph Macchio's character. He's kind of building his own dojo to kind of compete this like bully attitude, a little bit coming from the Cobra Kai, but just an overall great show. I highly recommend it. I know Jimbo Slice, you loved it. So Jimbo, I recommended this to him last season. He was still doing his podcast, The Variant Issue, and he absolutely tore it apart. And I'm telling you, as a fan of the original, it's like if you've like the things I've recommended and spoke about in the past, you'll definitely like this. It might not be for everyone, but I think overall, the first season was very highly regarded. Everybody seemed to overall really think it was well done, and I'm one of those people. So, it gets my stamp of approval. Other than that, what else have I been watching? I can't even remember. You guys go, and then if I remember stuff, I'll...
All right. Watching wise, Tess has given me a long laundry list of movies to watch after last week's
Yes, I have.
Annihilation, when I got like nothing.
That list should be a novel. It shouldn't be a list. It should be a book.
Yeah, so I'm knocking them off. But I watched Willow. Which
Awesome.
is so good. I didn't even know this movie existed.
How
Honestly.
could you not know that movie?
I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know. It was like one of George Lucas's first stories that he came up with, I think.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It was so good, though. And then
It's hands down, what's his name's best movie? Val Kilmer.
Mm-hmm. He was.
You
Oh my
can
God,
give me
it was
Real
fantastic.
Geniuses all day. 100 times better than Real Geniuses.
Two different types of movies.
Yeah.
Totally two different types of movies.
His character was so entertaining. Yeah, and I also watched the first 2 Back to the Futures. Just in time for spoilers. The Back to the Future reference is in Endgame.
Nice.
That's actually a really big spoiler.
Oh shit! Okay, we're beeping out that entire thing. Never mind.
Jesus.
Yeah, just,
That's all you watched?
yeah.
Oh, well, me, I haven't watched anything. I haven't watched anything this week. I was on vacation. I took a couple days away, so I didn't get to watch anything this week. The only thing I read was the 2 new Star 2 came out this week. I think it was 2 that came out this week. One was being Star Wars Galaxies. I'm not sure. Did you guys see that?
It's a comic.
Galaxy Edge. Star Wars Galaxy's Edge.
Oh, this is about the theme park, right?
No. It looks like the theme park, the cover, but it's more of. It was a pretty good story because it involved Han Solo and Chewbacca going to, basically because they're smugglers, they went and got a Sarlacc, a baby one. So these things are tiny. So they ended up getting one for this one dude, and it was a pretty good story. It's good to, I like the offshoots of the Star Wars universe. So that was a good book. And then there was, I believe, I'm trying to bring it up here. TIE Fighter. There was a new Star Wars the Darth Vader division. Again, it was a twisted story. If you guys could check this one, it was part 3 of the 5 series. Again, it was a pretty cool. I like these the Dark Vision stories because there's separate stories in it. In each, even though it's a 5-part series, each one is a different comic. It's a different story, and this one was pretty cool. It was a little twisted, and again, you see, you read and see Vader's, his raw power, what he does, and it was pretty good. It was a pretty good story.
Nice,
but didn't watch anything. A little behind.
Oh, I remember what else I was watching.
Go ahead. What were you watching?
The Orville.
Oh,
I've been catching up. It's season 2 has been really good. So
awesome. What episode did you see?
So I'm up to episode 10. So there's let me see here, 1, 2, 3, 4 left. I think they just had their season premiere.
So what
today?
Do you remember which?
It was called Blood. The last episode I saw was Blood of Patriots. That's the one where Malloy's character, friend, comes back and he's trying to interrupt the peace with the Krill.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but the episode before that was where they go to Isaac's home planet. There was
it was awesome.
That was an amazing episode. And I'm just looking at IMDb. So it was called Identity Part 1 and Part 2. It was a 9.3 rated episode. Both episodes were 9.3 rated. They were really good. It was kind of very much like that one had a very serious vibe to it. It was almost like the what's their planet called? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
It's not showing up here. But his planet's like a robot, a culture of robots. It kind of had, I don't know if you've ever really watched the Star Trek stuff, but who are those guys that would, the Borg? It kind of had a little bit of a feeling of the Borg. And it was just an amazing episode. After watching these two, I was like, wow.
I will tell you though, so how many episodes do you have left to catch
4.
up? So you're going to notice, I think you're still in the old season, right?
No, this is season 2.
This is the same season. It seems like visually it's getting better. Whatever CG that they're using, it's getting a ton
that
better.
battle scene that they had was pretty cool.
But I think you've coming up. You're coming up to a couple episodes where
I think this show is
serious,
picking up a little bit more steam. He just got his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Seth MacFarlane.
Okay.
This week, so I think he's, they're giving him a little bit bigger budget to play with. It seems like with the show,
it's going to get better from the 4 episodes. I didn't watch the last one. I think it came out this week. I didn't see it.
I really enjoy it. Anyone who's not watching it, it is kind of so he's a comedy guy, but it's he somehow works these random comedic moments into a very serious thing. One of the things during this one where the Krill, who are these evil, I guess probably equivalent of a Klingon to the Federation.
Yep.
And they're trying to make peace with them, and they want this guy who's responsible for blowing up 4 of their ships. They want him turned over, and his buddy Malloy is maybe instead of turning him over, we can just give him something else. And he's like, oh, I was like, and the captain's like, oh, well, what should we give him? He goes, I don't know, maybe free back rubs or something. And the guy's like, and the captain's like, yeah, I'll take that under advisement. Thanks, I appreciate it. He's like, I don't know, I'm just kind of spitballing. But then it goes right back into serious moments, which is just hilarious. It's if you were to really deal with this stuff, there'd be this lighthearted moments and then serious moments. But
what's even funny is you're seeing more and more, and you're going to see some more people that were on Star Trek.
Yeah,
in this,
it's funny.
It's amazing to see a lot of these from Deep Space Nine and Generations, and some of these characters they were prime actors, in these Star Trek shows.
I think one of the episodes, the guy who played Riker, William
Frakes,
I think he's directed a couple of these.
He has.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, it's going to get better for you. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's the first thing, like on the 60 episodes of like television that I have DVR'd. I was like, I'll watch Orville. I don't really want to watch any of this other stuff.
Good stuff.
But that was another thing I was watching.
Bruce?
Cool.
Well, I haven't been reading anything new lately.
We're a great comic podcast. None of us have read any comic books.
I forgot I read 3 comic books, but you can go first.
You got to figure we recorded something last week, so it's
Yeah, I mean, I'm
start
still reading my same titles. You know, the new Darth Vader and the Star Wars. You know, the Batman and the Superman thing. So nothing new title-wise has captured my interest yet.
Okay.
I'm just happy my little son here, Matt, has watched Back to the Future. Like this is exciting stuff.
Can't believe I never saw them.
on the watching, I just finished up on Netflix, The Last Kingdom. Just finished their 3rd season, which was kind of cool. It's basically I don't know if any of you guys watched it. It's
Is that the one Mark Hamill is? Mark Hamill is in?
No, that's King's. I don't remember the name. It's King.
I really don't know any of these actors before. I guess if I
What's this one about?
It's basically ancient England when before the English Empire was actually made. You still have like the Kingdom of Wessex and East Anglia and Mercia and stuff like that. So you're following Uhtred, who's basically his parents were killed by Viking. You know, he's a Viking. You know, and other Vikings came and they took over his kingdom, so he was turned into a slave, and then he was instructed into fighting and stuff like that. And he's been in servitude for the king of Wessex and stuff like that. And it basically just follows him, you know, as he's growing up and basically getting betrayed left and right over people that he served and stuff, and he's trying to establish himself back in his kingdom and stuff like that.
And you said this is called The Last Kingdom?
The Last Kingdom.
What is it on?
Netflix.
Netflix. Okay.
Yeah, 3 seasons. And the best thing about it is like they're not long seasons. They're like 12 or 13 episodes, so you can blast through a season like in a weekend. And I also finished up The Frontier with
is that the one Jason Momoa is in?
Jason Momoa, yeah. And those were even shorter. I think there were only like 7 or 8 episodes, which is actually perfect because it just gives you enough. And it's like, I guess with his busy work schedule, that's all he can like really give. But he's really good in it, and some of the scenes are super brutal. I mean, it is rated TV MA, but you know, it's just some of it. It's like, wow, it's like, did he really just do that? I was like, it's like I don't even think you would see that like rated R. You know, it's like, but yeah, another fantastic series that I really enjoy watching.
Very cool.
All right, go ahead, Matt. You're the only person who's read some comic books.
Yes, I did. I read All-Star Batman and Robin. Have you guys heard of this or read it?
I've heard of it.
I've heard of the title.
Frank Miller and Jim Lee. An unfinished 11-issue series.
That came out when?
Mid-2000s sometime. It's weird as hell. The way he wrote Batman's just like, he's such an arrogant little piece of garbage, I guess. Like there's this famous line.
Awful.
No, but like he's like there's this famous line when so it starts out like it's another take on Dick Grayson as Robin. Mm-hmm. So instead of his parents falling from the thing or whatever, like they land perfectly, but then both his parents are shot in the head.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So then Batman, you know, takes him whatever, and he's driving with Batman, and Dick goes, "Who the hell are you anyway?" And that's the line where Batman goes, "What are you, dense? Are you retarded? I'm the goddamn Batman." It's the stupidest thing ever, but like
That's
What?
yeah, it's so strange.
so. This is the line that Mr. Zach
Mr. Davino loves.
always always likes to spout on us.
Yeah.
I'm the goddamn Batman.
Yeah. No, it's
funny.
I did my best. Your impression.
And you
there,
said
Zach.
it's unfinished?
Yeah, it's 11 issues out, but it's unfinished. It was supposed to be like 14 or something, and I think they made them, but they never printed them for some reason.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I don't know if I would call it a good story by any stretch of the imagination, but it is interesting enough that I'm enjoying reading it. And Jim Lee's art was really good. I mean, I'm sorry, Scott Williams and yeah, so that's about it though.
His finishes were on it. Scott Williams'
Yeah.
finishes were on it.
Yeah, but I'm also reading that an actual
We'll take
book.
any free sketches if you're offering.
I'm also reading an actual book, the Star Wars, like I said before, the Star Wars Master and Apprentice that just came out last week. It basically follows Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan back like when Obi-Wan was 17 years old, so pretty before episode 1, and something that really cool that's going on. I'm only like halfway through now, but this is before they knew that Dooku was a Sith Lord. So they still knew Dooku as a Jedi. He had left the Jedi Order at this point, but they thought it was like more political than, dark side influenced.
But I thought in the movie, it wasn't until the movies that they knew, wasn't it? I thought it wasn't until after like episode 1 that they thought.
Well, and
They didn't
he
even-
wasn't into 1, but 2, like he was just introduced as like being with Sidious.
Yeah, so they didn't. Oh, so they knew automatically like he was a Darth Lord at that point.
I don't remember honestly, but like in this, it's not even alluded to slightly. Like he's just left the Jedi Order because he, I don't know, he got into politics on some planet or something. But
Is that why he was a count?
yeah, yes, exactly. Yeah. So
You know why he was really an account, right?
Why?
Because he's most famous for being Dracula. I'm pretty sure that's why they made him Count Dooku. Like his all-time favorite line is being Dracula. Like he's been in like how many Dracula movies? What's his name?
Christopher Lee.
Christopher Lee. Yeah, you go back and look at Christopher Lee's movie thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, there's 100% the reason that they gave him Count Dooku. Like George Lucas is like, yeah, this is gonna be clever. You're gonna be Count Dooku.
Okay.
Yeah. No, good book though. I'm excited to see where it goes.
Cool.
Yeah, it's cool to see that relationship between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan that we never got to really see.
6
too
hours of research on Christopher Lee, just in case you asked me a question. Still, I knew I was going to lose to Frank. It's just like it's.
You did a valid
I knew
job.
a lot of them. It was just I knew if I missed any questions, I was going to be done for. And it was going to be the questions that he would know.
Yeah.
So I missed some questions.
Sorry.
You did
commendable
good.
job.
I have to find it. I have a Trivial Pursuit Star Wars edition
I have it about
from like 1998.
we gotta play that.
I have it. It's
Yeah.
I'm gonna whip that thing out
It's
for next
pretty
time.
early.
We're gonna use that.
We got to play that.
We'll do that.
So I told, like, I would never go first. So I'd play at home. And I was like, all right, you guys go first. I was like, but I just want to let you know when it's my turn, there's a pretty good chance no one's going to go again. So like, I think I played multiple times, and there was only one time where while we were playing, I got a question wrong.
We should play that on the air one time.
We should. That'd be fun.
Just do a podcast of just playing that
I
game.
don't know if we want to do that. I wouldn't listen to that.
It would
to
be
honest with you.
it would be a quick game.
Yeah.
All right,
right.
That's about does it, right?
Yeah, that does it. So, again, we want to thank Frank Rich for coming on our show today. Please check him out, Star Wars Autograph News. Again, website, StarWarsAutographNews.com. Follow him on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
We'll put all his handles in the show notes.
Yeah,
so you
he's
can find
just,
him.
and he's a really nice guy. I've known him for about 5 years, and one of the most knowledgeable guys I know in the Star Wars world. So again, thank you. This has been the Don't Feed the Geeks by the Long Island Comic Guys, and don't forget.
What?
What? How do we normally end that?
And remember.
Oh, that's right.
Until
I haven't done the closing yet.
you haven't.
Oh, okay.
So I'm a little.
Well, that's how we do. We do
And remember.
And remember.
Don't feed the geeks!